Hi there, and thank you for participating in this CATIA Jewel Talk. Sorry, we are a bit late. And today I'm very happy to welcome on stage Daniel Pisac, who leads the team of process experts in the mechanical industry for CATIA at Dassault Systèmes. Hello. Hello, Daniel, here you are. Hi. And many of you may already know Daniel, as he has presented numerous CATIA user talks and CATIA Jewel Talks. I'll show you at the end of this talk how you can still watch them in the CATIA user community. And you can directly use the link below, go.3ds.com/CATIA, to join the community if you like. So now, today, Daniel will be focusing on features you might not have noticed in Sketcher, such as 2D kinematics, for example, and that can really be very handy. So I'll give you the floor, Daniel.
Thank you, Anne. So hello, everyone. It's always a pleasure to be here. I just noticed that this CATIA Jewel Talk is the 20th, and my previous one was a long time ago in April last year. But I fill the gaps by doing some CATIA user talk, but I am a very technical guy, and what I really like is to talk about technical stuff and show you the capability of 3DEXPERIENCE CATIA or CATIA V5. And here I selected the Sketcher. As you know, the Sketcher is the most used command by our 2 million of CATIA users worldwide. Okay, so every single new capability that we introduce is in a new release of CATIA V5 or 3DEXPERIENCE. Will automatically increase the productivity of 2 million of users. So this is good. It's an important topic. You probably know, I guess, 90% of what I will show. Hopefully not 90% for all of you. I will show you some hidden commands, some use of shortcuts on the keyboard. And I will finish by something which is very nice, only available in 3DEXPERIENCE CATIA, not in CATIA V5, which is the ability to do kinematics in 2D. But let's start with very simple stuff. Again, sorry for those who knows what I will show. Hopefully, you will at least learn a little bit of new capabilities you were not aware of. Okay, let's start. So let's start with very simple thing. Like I like to predefine my settings for the Sketcher. Okay, it's very important to be able to change the color of what is over constraints, change the color of the geometry, change the color of the highlight. All this can be done in the preferences. Okay, so let's go to the preferences. There is different preferences for the Sketcher, for the grid, for the sketch plane, for the geometry, but also for all colors that are used. And what I like to use is what we call the shade sketch plane. Okay, so let's turn it on, shade sketch plane. And what does he do? It's very simple. He makes a different background color for the plane of the Sketcher. Okay, so you can see here very easily where is the sketch plane compared to the rest of the session, which is of course 3D. So I don't know if you are familiar with this capability, but it's quite cool. Again, don't forget to go and customize the settings. Some people, they don't like this particular background. They don't like the black color. They have some issues, maybe sometimes with their eyes. They prefer to highlight, to see there is the big difference between over constraints and under constraints. So don't hesitate to customize your Sketcher. You have many, many, many options. So now let's start with very simple things. I have a circle. I create a line. And the standard behavior of CATIA, when you are close to a constraint, is to snap to a constraint. Here it's a tangency constraint snapping. You can change the behavior of the snapping. You can, in fact, stop the snapping. Just by hitting the Shift key, CATIA will no longer do the snapping, okay? And of course, at any time, you can release the Shift key and you will go back to the default behavior. That's a very simple thing. The same thing can be done not only on constraint snapping, but also on grid picking points. Here I have my grid display. By default, I will select, CATIA will snap your position of the pointer or the cursor to an intersection of the grid. But here, by just hitting again the Shift, it will no longer have this behavior, and allow you to do whatever position you would like to the extremity of this particular segment. Another capability that I like very much as well is once you have find the constraints, here I have a tangency constraints, you would like to lock it. You would like to lock it as you are no longer, even if you do motion up and down the screens, you would like to lock it because maybe you would like to extend just the length of the line, okay? This is what is done here. I lock it by just clicking on the control key. It's no longer shift, it's control. Simple stuff, but very efficient. Something which is a little bit more complex, but not that much complex, is once you have defined a profile, whatever the profile, with a classical profile command, you will be able to round all the corners, all the sharp corners with a radius. The command is called fillet, you know it. The option is this one. So it will round all the sharp corner with the same radius value. And of course, you can modify very easily the value of this corner. So sharp automatic cornering of any profile. That's also something cool. Maybe you know it, but at least for those who do not know, nice, let's say, new opportunity. Something I like as well is that, we can do Boolean operation with various profile and so on. And there is an auto trim command, but with the trimming is done by a freehand motion. Let's have a look at what it can be done on this particular situation. So freehand selection, I will select what will be inside the final Boolean operation. So you really have to be a little bit careful to really select what it will be inside. So, and here you go, you have automatically trimmed all the entities by selecting what is the region to be preserved in your trimming command. I'm using, it's quite important to tell, but I'm using the very last version of 3DEXPERIENCE CATIA, which is a 23X FD02, which is, by the way, on the cloud. I am on the cloud here on my collaborative space called Personal Daniel Pisac, okay? It's a storage where I store all my data. And here, something I have to go back maybe is the polygon command. If you click on polygon, you can, of course, by default, there are 6 span. You can change the dimension of this polygon or this hexagon. And you can also very easily change the number of span up to go to a triangle, for example. So this is also something nice. Maybe you are not aware of that, but it's also helpful, not only for screws with 6 sides, but for any type of shape, polygonal shape. Let's move forward. In this particular case, what I will do, is just 3 profiles. When we are in the sketcher of CATIA, the sketcher behavior is that everything you do in one sketch will be manipulated as a wall when you are doing 3D design. I will show you. So I have three geometries. They are designed in one sketch, and the standard behavior of CATIA will be that if I leave the sketcher, okay, if now I select, for example, a pad, all the profile inside my sketch will have the same dimension and will be considered as a wall. Okay, so now I have 3 pads with the same dimension. Okay, if you want, you can change the behavior of CATIA. Let's go back to the sketcher. Oops, here we are. And you use a command called multiple outputs. This is a command here, output feature, multiple output profiles. So what does it do? It shows you all those profiles, circle 1, profile 4, two different profiles, and you select, for example, all. You would like to separate all of them to be treated in the future as a single entity. So I will select the command select all. You can change the color of the result, by the way. And when you leave the sketcher, now you will see that in the spec tree, there is a new entity called output, and you have 3 different output profiles. From those 3 output profiles, now, if you leave the sketcher and go to the 3D to create a pad, you can select individually in the same sketch all those profiles, for example, to make 3 different pads with 3 different thickness. So it's a nice feature. Remember that most of the things we are doing in CATIA for part design, generative shape design, we try to be as robust as possible for any design change occurring during the life of the geometry of a product. It's why we are creating those containers. Sketcher is a container, output is a container, profile is a container. It helps you, in case of design change, to be sure that the result will be successfully updated. It's a nice feature of CATIA, which is in the Sketcher, but not only in the Sketcher. Okay, and here I just finished my final pad. Maybe change the direction to go in the opposite direction. Here we are. Okay. Multiple output. Very cool command too. Let's move forward. As you know, when you design something in CATIA, by default, you just have the geometry. But you can select option, and by default, when you create any geometry, it will automatically try to find all the constraints. Here you have 2 horizontal and 2 verticals. But it can also, at the same time, not only create the constraint, but also create automatically the dimension. Here you have the length and the height. So now, if I'm doing a much more complex profile, I will be designing my sketch. At the same time, CATIA will try to find the right constraints. At the same time, CATIA will try to do its best to find the right dimension. Probably the 72.111 is not a good dimension, obviously, but you can change that later. And you see here, you have all the constraints, all the dimension made automatically. Something I saw very often, maybe I will come back, is for very simple tasks, people just doing 2 lines, and between the 2 lines make an angle. They start to create those 2 lines, and they say constraints, they click on the first one, they make the length or maybe the angular constraints, and they go back to they click again on the constraints button, and so on and so on. Here you can do that completely automatically. The key in the Sketcher is to reduce the number of clicks, and all those capabilities are helping you to achieve this target, to reduce the click and the number of click, and to reduce also the mouse mileage. So here, I create my 2 lines. At the same time, the dimensions are created, the angular value are created, and I just have to change the content of the dimension if the default value are not the one I was looking for. So 3 modes in the Sketcher. The default one, just the geometry. One where he tries to add as many constraints he can in the geometry. Another one where you add not only the constraints, but also the dimensioning to be as quickly as possible, to give you the ability to be as quick as possible to design a very, very fully constrained and fully dimensioned sketch. Another capability that I like as well. Okay, let's say you have this oblong and you would like to make a pattern. Okay. There are multiple ways in the Sketcher, but one cool way of doing that is to use here the compass, which is here on the lower right corner. And look how you are doing that. You are just clicking on the compass. Then by using Control, you can displace by translation. And you can also change the number of patterns you would like in your final design. So let's move it. And now, of course, this is active. I can do the same. So I Control, I change the direction, and now I will pattern my full row of oblong, and I change the number of patterns. Also nice capabilities. Don't forget. Another one is kinematics. Okay, it's almost my last topic, but I have multiple presentation of the kinematics. Okay, let's start to make a very small mechanism. Okay, so I start by this guy. Up. So I create a group. I don't know if you notice that, but once I have created this profile, automatically I have multiple commands on the screen. Let's have a step back, and I will stop. Yeah, here you are. You can do multiple things, fix a global geometry, whatever. But here I use just the group command, and I will group automatically all those geometry in one element, a group that I can manipulate individually. So my group is there. I will create another oblong at the center of the circle of the first one. Here we are, group. And maybe I will do some constraints, like I will fix the extremity here, the center of the circle. So this is fixed, which means that probably this group will not be able to move, okay? Remember, I'm trying to do a kinematics study. Once this is done, okay, I fix it. I will, of course, make a dimension, a constraint, sorry. Angular constraints, here we are. And I play. The play button is here on the compass. And you see there are some now new display, especially there is an icon in the middle of the contact between those two. So I will click on this guy, and I have multiple options. One of them is angular motor. So I imagine that there is a motor, an engine, with a constant speed, and it turns, I would select how many turns per minute. So let's put the default value, or maybe move to 10. So 10 turns per minute. If now I play, you see my rod is moving, okay? Now let's continue. I make another one, another rod. I group. I will create a constraints, an angular constraints. Here we are. And I go to play, click to play. And now we select another type of behavior for this guy. In this case, I could add a distance, translation. I will just add an oscillation, okay? So let's make it. The oscillation will be 1 Hertz, so 1 turn, 1 rotation of 180 degrees only. So it will move once from 180 degrees. Sorry for that. Okay, so let's do a play. So it's not the play on the top, it's a play here on the widget. So you see what he's doing. I'm in the sketcher of 3DEXPERIENCE CATIA, okay? Now let's add more complexity. I create a small rectangle. Here we are. I group. I go to play. And now I will just tell the system that this rectangle is like an obstacle, okay? You see here, I say contact, okay? This part will be managed contact-wise. And for this road, but also this road, okay? And now you play. You can even use manually and move manually the stuff to push your various roads. And you can, it's an option that I did not show you here, but you can also create the full sweeping track. So you will see the various position of all those elements, because maybe it's a geometry. Maybe here, this final position, sorry, is the final one you would like to get. This is something, it's more for fun, that you can do with a similar capability without any angular motion, but just contact. We are in the sketcher. This is something which is a little bit more industrial, I would say. I am designing my mold. I would like to compute, to look at the kinematics of the slider being open. And especially, the slider is moving along the so-called angle pin. And everything from a kinematic point of view has here been studied just in the sketcher. At the very, very beginning, you don't need complete 3D of the angle pin and the slider, just some profiles. And you can make a kinematics, exactly what I did, with of the slider opening motion to see if the angle is okay, to see if the position at the end is okay. So it's not only for pure 2D kinematics, but it's also, you can also work on a 3D model to, in a simple way, analyze the kinematic of 3D assembly. So this was for the sketcher. Let's now have a look at the text, what we can do in terms of text design in the sketcher of 3DEXPERIENCE. It's quite cool. So my idea is to create this a text, which is, I don't know if you see it, but the reference of the tire itself. So I am here in the sketcher. I will enter the text command. I will just type in my text, select my font, select my type, select the spacing, many parameters of the text. So it's 225/45 or 1790W. So it must be a quite expensive tire, by the way. So we create the sketch, and then we can just use the sketch to create either an engraving or an embossing, probably here an engraving of my tire with the reference of the tire. And the text is fully associative. If I made a mistake in my text, I can change it. And of course, do whatever I want, change the size, change the position. You create my, in fact, it was an embossing, sorry, an embossing, not an engraving. And I can even attach a design table. So maybe in my text, the text content, sorry, is driven by a design table. So you just select in the design table the reference of the tire, and automatically the tire, 3D tire, reflects the design change of the tire reference. Okay. Now let's see if something a little bit on the border. Okay. So remember, if you want to do a text, you just go to the sketcher, you select the text command. So you type in the text you want here. So let's say I have a particular font that I have designed because I'm working with multiple OEM in the automotive industry. And in my particular font, which is a vectorized font, I had multiple logos of car makers. So instead of retrieving every time, you know, the logo and so on, and position the size and so on and so on, here we just create a font with various logos of automotive car makers. So I will select my text, just some capital letters, just to show you the stuff. To every single letter is assigned a logo. And my font is I will select another font that's the 3ds font, of course. I have a particular font. So you can imagine that very easily, just by using a text in the sketcher, you can assign multiple fonts for whatever product, whatever purpose you think it's important. You can see here, all my font has been created. By the way, it's very old font. So I hope Dacia or Porsche or Peugeot or the other guys will not complain about that, but it's old fonts. Old logo, sorry, but they are creating as a sketch. And of course, if I leave the sketch, I go back to the 3D and then I can create easily, why not an embossing? So create a pad for all those guys. And I have very quickly designed complex geometry just with a text in the sketcher. And to finish, something which will be introduced in the very new release of CATIA 3DEXPERIENCE CATIA, which is 2024X, due for November this year. It's very simple stuff, but I like it. That's why I would like to show it. Now it's an option, it's a setting. Remember, a lot of settings are predefined or can be predefined and customized in the preferences of the sketcher. But here there is a setting. You can keep the old behavior, or you can decide to adopt the new behavior. So it's quite cool because once the profile is closed, it will create a shading. Okay, so you know it is closed. Okay, so here I have a profile. It is not closed. Sometimes the distance is very small. Right? It's not that obvious. Okay, here I exaggerate. As soon as I close it up, it is shaded. I know the contour is closed. And also a nice capability, if you move it, so I grouped, but if you move it, it will maintain the original position of the sketch, of the profile, and the new position of the profile. So you can have a nice view of what you are doing. And at the end, you have the result. This is to finish my presentation. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you learned a lot of stuff. If you have any question, feel free to use the CATIA community or the chat right now for asking me the question. And maybe I ask Anne if there are some questions from the audience.
Well, I think we don't have any questions from our audience at the moment. Maybe I myself have a question, if you don't
Go ahead,
mind.
Anne.
Well, maybe a silly question. I saw dimensions created by the Sketcher. So
Yes.
my question is, can tolerances or annotations be created from the Sketcher or application, or is this only visible on other applications?
No, it's a very good question. If you have,
Thank you.
if you create a dimension and if you add tolerances to the dimension, for example, this rectangle, the length is 100 millimeter, and you have a tolerance of plus 0.2, plus 0.4, you can add that. You can add to every single dimension a tolerance, and something that maybe you do not know, but there is a magic button in the Sketcher where you can go from the tolerance dimension to the mean dimension. So automatically for something which is tolerance, which is 100 millimeter long, and a tolerance of plus 0.2, plus 0.4, it will create a geometry which is 100.03 millimeter. So it will compute automatically the mean tolerance, the mean value, which is very important because as an engineer or a designer, you are creating those tolerances, but the geometry is 100. But as a manufacturing guy, let's say an NC programming guy, he would like to actually mill the real geometry, which will be 100, for example, 0.03. So this works very well on the Sketcher. Of course, it's mainly usable for lathe or turning parts, okay, or a symmetrical part. It does not work on, of course, on 3D, but in the Sketcher, yes, you can do that. And yes, you can compute the nominal value with tolerance to the mean value of the geometry. Thank you for asking the question, Anne.
You're welcome, and thank you for the answer. Then, well, maybe we haven't answered all the questions you may have. So you can still ask your question in the CATIA user community and get in touch with Daniel. For this, you can flash the QR code or enter the link that you see here, go.3ds.com/CATIA. All you have to do is to create a DS passport, which is very quick, and login. And then you are in the ModSim, in the CATIA user community that I show you here. There is a lot of content such as demo videos or blog posts or question and answer and a wiki. And I can show you here that in this wiki, you will find all the CATIA user talks presented by Daniel, or the CATIA Jewel Talks and other talks and TV, if you still want to watch them on replay. And if I go back to our post, sorry, yes, if I go back to your post, Daniel, just to show you, you can still comment and continue the conversation with Daniel in this comment section. Feel free, and it's true that if you want us to know about your expectations from Dassault Systèmes on Sketcher in the future, please add it here. Well, thank you very much for this very interesting presentation and very, interesting demonstration on 2D kinematics. It was very nice. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you all for attending, and goodbye for now.
Thank you to the audience. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, guys, and hope to see you soon to the 21st CATIA Jewel Talk coming soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.